Good morning and welcome. I want to thank the press for joining us today. I want to thank my partners, many of whom you'll be hearing from shortly over the next half hour, and thank the public for tuning in as well. This is the first of three pressers today. At 2 p.m., you'll get an update on how voting is going, what the lines look like, and any concerns from voters. At 5 p.m., we'll have a wrap-up from my co-director, Cheryl Carter. My name is Adrienne Kelly. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the co-executive director of Democracy North Carolina. Today is an important day. It's a momentous day and a history-making day in North Carolina and the country, regardless of who ascends to the presidency of the U.S. It's Election Day. The polls here opened at 6:30 and will remain open until 7:30 this evening. We should all take pride in doing our civic duty and joy in participating in a free and fair election. I have a few reminders for you. First, you must vote in your assigned Election Day precinct, not at an early voting site. If you don't know where that is, please go to ncsboe.gov, the State Board of Elections site. If you're in line by 7:30, you can still vote, so stay in line. But I really encourage you to go earlier if you can. I also want to remind you to vote your entire ballot. I say vote from the bottom up. Local races have more of an immediate impact on your lives than the top of the ticket. And I also want to note that there is a constitutional amendment at the bottom of the North Carolina ballot. We encourage you to vote against that. There'll be more on that topic later. Democracy NC and our partners have been educating and mobilizing the public for months leading up to this election. For the last 2 weeks, we have been protecting voters at the polls. We've been ensuring that polling sites are compliant with electioneering and voter access laws. We've been debunking information. We've been de-escalating tensions at the polls and reporting problems to our 888 Our Vote hotline. Over 4.5 million votes have been cast thus far in North Carolina, and today is your turn to have your voice heard. Go to the polls with pride and with joy. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Chavi Koneru from North Carolina Asian Americans Together. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Chavi Koneru, Executive Director of North Carolina Asian Americans Together, or NCAT. We're a nonpartisan nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering North Carolina's Asian American and Pacific Islander communities through civic engagement, voter education, and community support. This election season, NCAT has been working actively to protect voters' rights across the state. We are committed to ensuring that every voter, regardless of their background, political affiliation, or language spoken, can participate in a fair, accessible, and safe voting process. Over the past week, NCAT has stationed our staff and volunteers at early voting sites in Wake County, and we're continuing this work at select polling sites across the state in Wake, Meck, Union, Guilford, Cumberland, and other counties across North Carolina. Our teams are on site to assist voters, report any issues, and work closely with local officials to address incidents in real time. Unfortunately, this election season, we've encountered troubling incidents at early voting sites where campaign volunteers have used transphobic and homophobic language to intimidate voters and influence their choices. Such behavior is not only hateful, but also deeply harmful to the inclusive democratic process we stand for. No voter should feel unsafe or unwelcome at the polls. Voters have a right to cast their ballot in peace. What's particularly alarming is that these intimidation tactics have been deliberately directed at Asian American voters, with some campaigners using voters' native languages, Mandarin, Cantonese, Hindi, and Vietnamese among those. These incidents are a clear attempt to exploit cultural connections to sway voters through fear and discrimination, targeting individuals based on their identity and language. This alarming trend underscores the critical need for robust election protection, especially within our Asian American communities. Election protection is more important than ever now. NCAT is committed to responding to these challenges. Our staff and volunteers are on the ground, prepared to support and protect voters, report these incidents, and work with election officials to ensure immediate action is taken. Our message is simple. Your voice matters, and we're here to protect it, no matter what language you speak. We're here to ensure that every voter knows their rights, feels safe, and can vote free for intimidation. We stand for a voting process that's safe, fair, and free from discrimination for every North Carolinian. We want to remind everyone, voters, advocates, and allies, that safeguarding our right to vote is critical. We encourage any voter who experiences intimidations or has questions to reach out to our multilingual voter hotline with support available in 22 different languages at 1-833-VOTE-NCAAT. Together, we stand for a democracy that respects all voters. NCAT will be there every step of the way, ensuring that North Carolina's Pan-Asian community is heard, respected, and protected. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melissa Price Crom, Executive Director of North Carolina for the People. Now, each of us has their own reason for how and why they cast their ballot. When we go to the polls, we hope that the preferred candidate comes out victorious, but that doesn't always happen, and that's okay. Winning and losing is part of life. It's what we teach our kids, and it's what the most rabid sports fans understand. Even if NC State were happen to lose to Carolina, I would still choose to respect the outcome of the game. And the same goes for our elections. Unfortunately, that kind of common sense is rapidly becoming less common. A growing number of elected officials and public figures in North Carolina and beyond have decided that imposing their ideology is more important than our democracy. Now, during the last presidential election, the country was left shell-shocked after discovering the lengths to which some went to overturn a legitimate presidential election results. False conspiracy theories ran rampant about the fairness of the results, and outlandish claims of election rigging called into question the outcome without any real evidence to back the harmful assertions. Despite repeated investigations and reviews by government officials, judges, elected leaders, both political parties debunking these claims, this vocal group of election deniers is now calling into question the results of this election before we even have results. Some are even sowing the seeds of doubt in the validity of our election results by setting off a slew of legal fights in battleground states like ours in North Carolina. What we've seen is PR stunts as litigation filed up to the run-up to this election. Moreover, we lack guardrails for our democracy as foreign powers play in our elections. Billionaires and secret money groups continue to spend in unprecedented amounts of big money to buy influence with politicians that divide us. There's a fire hose of disinformation that voters have been subjected to this election. Y'all need proof. So if someone is going to play footsie with undermining public trust in our election system, they better have a good reason and a heck of a lot of proof to back it up in their case, and we haven't seen that. The absurdity of this would be laughable if it wasn't so terrifying. Now, we've been here before, and we've got through it together. This election, let's choose freedom over fear, proof over accusation, country over party, and people over politics. Even with these election deniers running rampant in our state, trying to veto our votes, most North Carolinians remain confident that our elections are safe and secure. In fact, in a recent poll, 80% of residents believe that their votes were counted accurately in 2020. Now, who are these folks really speaking for when they cry wolf over the election results? From what these polls tell us, is clearly not the people of North Carolina. And moreover, our election workers are working around the clock to make sure that every last eligible vote gets counted. And that's a really big deal. It's critical that North Carolinians trust their election system. After all, our democracy runs on trust. In America, we believe that voters should pick our leaders, not the other way around. But certain extreme factions in our country will do anything to seize and keep power. When they fear they'll lose, they lie and lash out, as they did in 2020 by peddling false claims, filing frivolous lawsuits, and inciting the violence that led to the attack of January 6th on our country. People across races, places, and even political parties are all rejecting their lies. We, the people, decide who will govern in our name, and we demand the freedom to cast our ballots, have them counted, and certify the results so that the will of the people prevails. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Loperfido. I am Chief Counsel for Voting Rights at the Southern Coalition for Social Justice. North Carolinians have come out in record numbers to make their voices heard at the ballot box, despite new laws that have unquestionably made voting harder this year. We've also overcome the continued challenges of Hurricane Helene and the coordinated attacks by partisan actors to undermine confidence in our elections. Today, voters across the state will have one final chance to exercise their fundamental right to vote, and members of the North Carolina Election Protection Coalition are standing at the ready to help those individuals navigate the voting process to ensure that they can cast their ballot and have it count. That includes making sure that people know that they still have options to vote, even if they don't have a voter photo ID. We have fellow North Carolinians trained in our voting laws waiting to answer your call at 888-hour vote. Hundreds of them, in fact, over the course of today. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention what is certain to come at the end of this long, arduous day of election work. Our election system has rigorous rules and protocols to ensure that election results will be secure, and election officials will do just that. But that doesn't mean people won't say otherwise when the last ballot is cast this evening. We have seen this worn out strategy time and time again, where politicians use false claims, frivolous lawsuits, conspiracy theories, and other intimidation to undermine the power of the people. Southern Coalition for Social Justice and our coalition partners have seen these tactics before, and we've stepped in and stopped them. If necessary, we're prepared to do that again this year. Thank you.
Right. Sorry. Good morning. I'm Chantal Stevens, the Executive Director for the ACLU of North Carolina. Voting is the cornerstone of our democracy and the fundamental right upon which all our civil liberties rest. Yet, this year, we have seen a reprehensible spike in political violence and attempt to limit access to the ballot box through legislation, targeted disinformation, voter intimidation at the polls, primarily directed at Spanish-speaking voters, and in some parts of the country, the outright destruction of votes. Anti-democracy extremists are attacking our right to vote because they fear the results of a fair election. But we will not let them win. As you've heard, already more than 4 million North Carolinians have voted. And today, many more will take time out of their busy days to stand in line at the polls and protect our civil rights and liberties at the ballot box. Our elected officials up and down the ballot will decide on a number of critical issues that impact the lives of North Carolinians, including who has the right to get an abortion, where and how we can protest injustice, the rights of trans people to access gender-affirming care, and how immigrants are treated in our state. Those of us here with you today, and including the ACLU, we have faith in our nation's tried and true election system and know that our democracy thrives when every American has an equal opportunity to vote. Many of our friends and neighbors have been working tirelessly before, will work during, and after the election to ensure every vote is counted. Election advocates, including our own staff, have signed up to monitor polls and observe the canvass process in the coming days to help keep the election fair and uphold trust in the results. While we wait for results to come in, we have to be patient. It takes time for all the votes to be counted, and an election where all our voices are heard is worth the wait. As you heard, we anticipate there will be many challenges in the days and weeks ahead while we wait for the results. But the ACLU was made for moments like this. For more than a century, through 19 presidencies, the ACLU has defended our democracy at times of greatest threat. With our partners, many of them here with us today, with me today, we will continue to stand up for the rights of all North Carolinians. And we know the people are with us.
My name is Ann Webb. I am Policy Director with Common Cause North Carolina. Today is about casting our ballots. The 888 Our Vote Nonpartisan Voter Hotline will be taking calls until the last voter in line tonight has an opportunity to vote. Voters should bring their photo ID, and if they don't have one, ask for the voter ID exception form. Get in line by 7:30 and stay in line. Tonight is about being patient while our election heroes start the work to count every vote. The process and procedures in place work to ensure that all ballots are accounted for and can be counted accurately. Election night is not results night. Tomorrow is about continuing to be patient while our ballots are counted. In North Carolina, our election heroes will be working around the clock to process all of the ballots, conduct legally required audits, and double check the counts. This is our democracy at work. Over the next 10 days, nonpartisan volunteers across North Carolina, working with Common Cause North Carolina and numerous partner organizations, will be watching County Board of Elections meetings where this critical work is happening. We encourage everyone to participate in our democracy by attending County Board of Election meetings to see how our strong, accurate election system works. Remember, our election process and procedures work. Our job is to be patient and pay attention while election heroes count every vote. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ileana Santillan, and I'm the proud executive director of El Pueblo, an organization that has championed the civic engagement and empowerment of the Latino community in North Carolina for decades. And today I stand with deep gratitude, immense pride, and an unwavering determination as we reflect on the significant efforts and challenges that we have navigated this election season. In collaboration with our partners and allies, we distributed over 30,000 Spanish language voter guides across 18 counties in North Carolina, putting them directly into the hands of voters at candidate forums, local festivals, businesses, community gatherings, neighborhood meetings, high schools, college campuses, and churches. These guides were more than just handouts. They sparked deep, meaningful conversations about the importance of voting and its impact on our community. To further strengthen this initiative, we frequently updated and enhanced our website, votemosnc.com, to ensure that everyone, particularly those in rural areas, had reliable access to Spanish language voter information. Together, these efforts created a vital bridge of information and empowerment. These initiatives symbolize more than just information. They are a testament to our collective commitment to empowering every voter of our community to participate in the democratic process. Over the past year, dozens of organizations and hundreds of volunteers have worked tirelessly to register new voters and re-engage our community in the electoral process. Today, North Carolina counts approximately with 325,000 Latino voters, with nearly 125,000 already casting their ballots. This turnout reflects not just numbers, but the resilience, hope, and power of a community determined to participate in shaping the future of our state. We have faced significant challenges. Organizations like the North Carolina Elections Integrity Team, NCEIT, have sought to intimidate immigrant voters, particularly targeting the Latina community. We have witnessed their efforts to sow fear and confusion using racist signs outside polling places and tactics meant to undermine the confidence of voters from mixed status families, first-time voters, naturalized citizens, and others in their right to vote. But we did not stand in silence. We stood shoulder to shoulder with our partners, challenging these acts of intimidation, ensuring that our community knew their rights, and reassuring voters that they belong in the democratic process. So today, I am proud not just of what we have accomplished, but of who we are: resilient, determined, and united. I am proud of the voters who showed up at the polls despite the climate of fear and uncertainty. And I know our work does not end here. We will continue to build on the trust and momentum that we have have cultivated pushing forward to ensure that every member of our community feels safe, empowered, and confident when casting their ballot. This effort is not just about one election, it's about creating a lasting legacy for a stronger, more inclusive North Carolina. Thank you.
Thank you, Ileana. My name is Caitlin Swain, and I am the co-director of Forward Justice. Today, our job is not easy. We understand that in this state of North Carolina, we are in the 11th year without the full protections of the Voting Rights Act. But when I look around this room, when I am waking up this morning and seeing the thousands of vote protectors all across this state, I know that the people have stepped into the breach and they are taking up the role of being the people's preclearance in this election. This group of people who has come together knows that our democracy is worth fighting for. We understand that today is going to be a historic, record-breaking election here in North Carolina. More than 2,700 precincts are open for the people to use today, and already we are seeing long lines out at these precincts as the historic enthusiasm continues in this state. But we also need to be clear that this has not been an easy election cycle so far. This 888-hour vote nonpartisan election protection coalition has already responded to more than 4,000 calls from across this state and resolved those problems. We are so grateful for the leadership of Democracy North Carolina, the Southern Coalition for Social Justice, and Lawyers Committee for their work in bringing this coalition together to respond in this moment. At Forward Justice, we have already responded to more than 200 voter intimidation complaints that have come through both the nonpartisan hotline and through our partner organizations. Let me tell you, that is a story that can be hard to hear. We should have no incidences of voter intimidation in this state. Voters are protected under both federal law and state law from hostile, intimidating actions at the polls. But we are realistic. It is going to happen in a time of hostility. What I want to make sure that the people know today is what Ileana and Chevy already said, which is that our groups are out in force all across the state today to stand with you as you make your voices heard. We will not be turned around. As Jeff said at the outset of his remarks, the people are voting in spite of voter suppression today. And we know that that trend is going to continue. And as I close, I want to make sure that I've lifted up just a couple of points that we've already shared today. First, as the beloved Community Center has reminded us this week, we are voting fearless, and tonight is not the end of the battle. We are going to continue to ensure that every voter's vote counts until we have state certification. The legal groups are here, but so is the movement in this state, ready to ensure that there is transparency and clarity in this democracy. We have seen election workers all across the state working tirelessly to ensure that we have a safe election with clear results. Please use 888, our vote hotline today. Please, if you have any relationship with the criminal justice system and you want answers to whether or not you have the right to vote today, call the Second Chance Voters Hotline, 1-877-880-VOTE. There are those who are baselessly seeking to interfere with the fundamental right to vote in this state. But the people greatly outnumber them. And what we understand is that in this election, the people have the momentum. We are so proud to stand with the people of North Carolina as we continue to make our voices heard. And as we have already said today, we will not back down. If there is litigation that is needed, Forward Justice, Southern Coalition for Social Justice, ACLU, Lawyers Committee, and a collective of powerful groups from across the state are ready to take action. Thank you for continuing in this fight with us for our democracy. We believe that we will get the democracy that the people deserve if we continue to stay strong. Forward together, not one step back.
Thank you to all of our speakers. I want to now open the floor if there are questions from the audience.
Hi, Kyle Ingram with the News and Observer. I just wanted to ask, I know y'all had mentioned that there had been some instances of voter intimidation at the polls today. As voting continues, what issues are you keeping an eye out for at the polls during voting and then also after polls close during the counting and reporting process?
Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. As you all, I'm sorry, I'm looking right in the video now. As the media, I think we've been seeking to try to get information out to the media regularly on the types of intimidation that we are seeing in this state. We have already taken action on intimidating signs in Spanish that were put forward by Insight. As Ileana already spoke to, a coalition of organizations have sent a cease and desist letter to Insight. Forward Justice is proud to be representing both INCAT, El Pueblo, and North Carolina NAACP in those efforts, and we're going to be continuing to monitor Insight's actions today. We have also been seeing aggressive electioneering across the state. This is something that should be able to be resolved swiftly if county boards are able to take the action that they're required to take under the law to remove aggressive electioneers from election sites. And we're going to continue to ask them to do that today. We've had success in this cycle already in being able to remove individuals who are not at the polls to encourage people to vote, but rather to discourage them. I also want to note that there have been incidents of poll worker misconduct, and we are continuing to track where that has occurred. In some instances, you have poll workers who are making mistakes. They are giving misinformation. But we also have issues of poll workers who are not following the law. When that happens, we are taking action. Finally, I want to note that as Chevy and Ileana spoke to earlier this morning, we have seen a significant increase in anti-immigrant, anti-Latino rhetoric across the state. And we want to send a clear message that there is no room for that at our polling places. We will continue to raise these issues with the county board, the State Board of Elections, the US DOJ, and the North Carolina DOJ to ensure that every voter feels welcome at the polls today. And we're happy to provide additional information to you, Kyle, about the specific incidents that we've seen today.
Thank you, Kyle and Caitlin. Are there any additional questions at this time? All right, well, thank you all for being here. With that, we're going to wrap up, and please feel free to join us again at 2 p.m. for our next presser. Have a great day.